All right, so we're diving into a topic today that I know is relevant for like half of us at least, how to exercise and eat well as women. And we're not talking like basic stuff here. We're going deep with research from Dr. Stacy Sims.
Yeah.
We're going to be referencing her interview on the Huberman Lab podcast. So you want to check that out if you want even more.
It's amazing like how much of this stuff you don't hear anywhere else. Like it really challenges all the typical gym advice out there.
Totally. Like, you ready to rethink what you thought you knew?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, let's talk about this whole intermittent fasting thing.
Okay.
Super trendy, everybody's doing it, but Dr. Sims suggests it might not be the best, especially for women who are active, hitting the gym.
Right. And it's like it all comes down to our biology, right? Like the way women's brains and hormones work is actually quite different.
Yeah. Break that down for me.
Okay, so women have these things called kisspeptin neurons, and they're basically like these tiny control centers for like appetite, estrogen, that whole hormonal cascade. Even your thyroid function is tied into this.
Wow.
And women have like two key areas in the brain that are just packed with these neurons. And the thing is, intermittent fasting, especially when you throw exercise into the mix, it can really mess with these systems.
Okay, so instead of like magically burning fat, we might actually end up with like sky-high cortisol, no energy, maybe even thyroid issues down the line.
Exactly. And like the research is showing that syncing our meals with our natural hormone rhythms throughout the day is way more effective.
Okay, so how do we do that?
So get this, cortisol, that stress hormone, it actually peaks for women about 30 minutes after waking up.
Okay.
And if we don't have at least a little something in our system during that post-wake-up cortisol spike, it's like hitting the gas while the parking brake is still slightly on.
Oh, I like that.
That stress response, it gets amplified, and it makes it harder for our bodies to transition into that parasympathetic state, that rest and digest mode.
Wow, that actually makes so much sense because, like, when I skip breakfast, even if it's just like a quick protein shake or something, I feel so sluggish.
Yeah.
Like my body is working against me.
Exactly. Like you're intuitively giving your body what it needs to kind of prime itself for the day, right?
Yeah.
And that pre-workout fuel, that becomes even more important, obviously, if you're planning on any high-intensity training.
So speaking of pre-workout, what's the deal with those massive pre-workout meals? Should we be ditching those?
Yeah, it's not about, like, feasting before you hit the gym.
Okay.
Dr. Sims, she actually recommends about 15 grams of protein before strength training.
Okay.
This signals to your brain and body that, like, hey, we've got fuel on board. It helps conserve your lean mass, and it kind of kickstarts those recovery processes.
So we're talking like a small protein shake, maybe a hard-boiled egg.
Exactly.
Okay.
Easy and effective. And then for cardio sessions under an hour, adding like 30 grams of carbs to that protein can be helpful just to provide that readily available energy.
Gotcha. Okay, so we're fueling our brains, we're fueling our bodies, we're avoiding the dreaded hangry workout.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about refueling afterwards. Post-workout, there's this whole like 45-minute window thing. Does that actually hold true, especially like as women age?
It's actually more crucial for women as we get older. Research shows women's metabolisms, specifically blood sugar levels, return to baseline within an hour of training. Guys, on the other hand, they have up to 3 hours.
Oh, seriously, that's a huge difference.
It is.
Why have I never heard this before?
Right. It just goes to show we need more research on, women's physiology.
Yes, absolutely.
So to recover effectively and maximize that muscle repair, women in their reproductive years should aim for around 35 grams of protein within 45 minutes of finishing a workout. And get this, women in perimenopause and beyond may need a whopping 40 to 60 grams.
Wow, that's almost double.
Yeah.
So basically, as we age, our bodies become a bit resistant to using protein from food as efficiently, so we need to up the intake.
That's it. It's called anabolic resistance, and it gets more pronounced with age, especially as, estrogen levels decline.
Okay, that makes sense.
Now, along with protein, carbs are also super important for replenishing those energy stores. Aim for about 3 grams per kilogram of body weight within 2 hours of training. This helps with muscle recovery and replenishes glycogen levels.
Okay, so timing is everything.
It is.
We've got to be strategic about our post-workout nutrition if we want to see results. Speaking of results, let's talk about strength training. Strength training, right. It's like the fountain of youth, especially for us ladies. But I feel like I hear so many myths like, oh, if you lift weights, you're going to bulk up overnight, turn into the Hulk. What's the real deal?
Yeah, the dreaded bulk myth. It's time to put that one to bed.
Yes, please.
We don't have the same hormonal profile as men to like gain muscle that quickly.
Okay, that's reassuring.
In fact, Dr. Sims, she actually explains that for like younger women, lifting to failure, meaning you go until you can't do another rep with good form, that can actually be a really great way to build strength and even encourage some muscle growth.
So pushing those limits in our younger years is actually a good thing.
Totally.
Oh.
But here's a key difference, though. As we get older, the focus should kind of shift from lifting to failure to lifting heavier weights with fewer reps left in the tank.
Okay.
This is especially important as estrogen, which is kind of like our natural strength allies, starts to decline during perimenopause and beyond.
Okay, so instead of like aiming for that 20 rep set, we should maybe go for heavier weights, 8 to 10 reps, and really focus on like perfect form in those last few challenging reps.
Exactly. It becomes about quality over quantity. We want to stimulate those neuromuscular connections, which, they naturally weaken with age.
Right, right.
And get this type of training, it not only helps maintain your muscle mass and strength, but Dr. Sims highlights research suggesting it can actually benefit cognitive function, even potentially reduce the risk of like age-related decline.
Wait, so lifting heavy weights can actually help like keep our brains sharp as we age?
It seems that way.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
Okay, but what about cardio? Like, I love my morning jogs, but I'm starting to think maybe I should be switching things up a bit.
Cardio definitely has its place.
Yeah.
For your mental well-being, enjoying the outdoors. But if we're talking about like maximizing longevity, body composition, those positive hormonal benefits, we need to be a little more strategic about the type and intensity of cardio we're doing.
So, like, what is truly effective cardio for women, especially, as we age?
Well, Dr. Sims, she's a big proponent of what's called polarized training.
Okay.
Have you heard of this?
I've heard of it, but I don't know. I need like a little more explanation.
Yeah, so it basically involves contrasting high-intensity efforts with low-intensity recovery. And you're basically like steering clear of that middle ground of moderate intensity that a lot of us, we just kind of like default to.
Yeah. Okay, so how does that actually look like in a workout? Can you paint me a picture?
Absolutely. Imagine you've just finished like a 20-minute lower body strength training session.
Yeah.
Instead of hopping on the treadmill for a steady state jog, you would hit the assault bike and do like short all-out sprints, maybe 30 seconds, followed by a few minutes of rest.
Okay.
And you'd repeat those sprints a few times, really focusing on like pushing your absolute limits during those work intervals.
Gotcha.
This high-intensity interval training, or HIAs, it taps into different energy systems than steady-state cardio. And it can lead to a greater release of those beneficial hormones we're talking about.
So we're talking like go all out, push your limits for a short burst, recover, and repeat.
Exactly. And this method elicits really powerful hormonal responses that impact like your body composition, your metabolic control, even brain health.
Wow.
And then those long walks you love, those are perfect for your recovery days.
Got it. So ditch the hour-long moderate intensity sessions and embrace the power of contrast.
Exactly.
I love it. Okay, let's talk about something that, I don't know, I feel like people tend to get a little squeamish about the menstrual cycle.
Right.
I will say, like, before learning all of this, I kind of saw my cycle as a nuisance.
A lot of women do.
Yeah.
But it's actually like our superpower,
Yeah.
Understanding how our hormones fluctuate throughout the month, it could be a game changer for optimizing like everything, your training, your nutrition.
So how do our energy levels, even our food cravings, like change throughout our cycle?
So Dr. Sims, she breaks it down into two main phases. You have your low hormone phase, which is from the first day of your period until ovulation, and then the high hormone phase, which is like the second half of your cycle. During that low hormone phase, your body's primed for stress, both physically and mentally.
So that's the time to go for those PRs in the gym.
Exactly. Your body can handle heavier loads, higher intensity. You're generally more resilient. Your immune system's better equipped to like handle the challenge. This is largely due to lower levels of estrogen and progesterone.
Makes sense. So what about the second half then, that high hormone phase? Is it all downhill from there?
Not at all. But it is a time to really tune in to those body cues.
Yeah.
Because this is when progesterone rises and we kind of experience a shift towards a more pro-inflammatory state, which, that's totally normal. It's a natural part of the cycle. You might not recover as quickly. Your carbohydrate metabolism might slow down a bit, and you might find yourself like craving those comfort foods. This is your body's way of preparing for a potential pregnancy.
Okay, so how do we navigate those cravings and the potential like energy dips? Do we just give in?
Strategic fueling is key.
Okay.
Dr. Sims, she suggests increasing protein and carbohydrate intake, particularly in the week leading up to your period. This can help offset those hormonal shifts and, support your body's natural tissue-building processes.
So if we're craving those carbs, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Your body might actually be telling you that it needs them.
Okay.
It's all about choosing those nutrient-dense options like sweet potatoes, sprouted bread, quinoa, that sort of thing.
Oh.
And remember, adequate hydration, crucial throughout your entire cycle, but especially during this phase, just to help manage any bloating and fatigue.
Okay, I love that. Now, what about those days where you wake up and you're just like, "Ugh, I don't feel it today. Should we push through or take a rest day?"
I love this question. Dr. Sims, she advocates for what she calls the 10-minute rule.
Okay.
If you're feeling kind of like blah about your workout, give yourself 10 minutes, see if you can kind of like find that motivation and energy, and if after 10 minutes you're still dragging, it's totally okay to modify your workout.
Yeah.
Do something restorative like some gentle yoga, stretching, or just take a rest day. Listen to your body.
I love that. We don't have to go, go, go all the time. Honoring our body's need for rest is just as important as pushing our limits.
Totally.
Speaking of pushing limits, let's move on to a topic that I think is often like shrouded in a lot of misinformation: oral contraceptives. So oral contraceptives, it's time for like an open, honest conversation about this, especially, in the context of women's health and fitness.
Definitely. And Dr. Sims, she actually went into this really fascinating historical overview that I think a lot of women, myself included, are just not aware of.
Okay, tell me more.
Did you know that the placebo week that's included in a lot of oral contraceptive packs, that was actually a deliberate design choice, like to mimic a natural menstrual cycle?
Wait, really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
So because of that, a lot of women who are on the pill might not actually be experiencing a true period. It's more of like a withdrawal bleed, and that can make it really tricky to actually like track your hormonal fluctuations and understand how your body is responding to training.
Okay, that's kind of mind-blowing. So how do oral contraceptives then impact like athletic performance?
Yeah.
Is it better to be on the pill or not if you're like really trying to hit those fitness goals?
It's tough to say like a hard yes or no, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It really depends on the type of pill, the person, their individual responses. Dr. Sims pointed out there's not a ton of like comprehensive research in this area.
Yeah, I feel like we need more research on like so many things when it comes to women's health.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But some studies do suggest that the hormones in oral contraceptives can affect things like inflammation, muscle protein synthesis, which are both obviously super important for recovery and adaptation.
So it's less about like labeling the pill as good or bad and more about, like you said, understanding the nuances and having open conversations with your doctor.
Totally. And I think finding a doctor who really like understands the complexities of female physiology, especially in the context of, athletic training, that's crucial for making, informed decisions.
Absolutely. Personalized approach is everything. Now, I'm curious about your thoughts on like deliberate cold exposure for women. I've been hearing so much about like cold plunges and ice baths, but I'm like, are those extreme temperatures always a good idea?
So Dr. Sims, she actually suggests a more moderate approach to cold exposure for women. And she explained that those icy plunges, they can cause intense vasoconstriction, so basically the narrowing of your blood vessels.
Okay.
And that might not be beneficial for everyone, especially those prone to Raynaud's syndrome, which affects blood flow to your extremities.
Interesting. So what like temperature range does she recommend if you're like wanting to get the benefits without going overboard?
She suggests aiming for water temperatures around 55 to 56 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
So that's still chilly. You'll still get those positive hormonal and metabolic responses, but without the potential downsides of that, like extreme cold.
Got it. So a dip in a cool ocean or a well-calibrated cold plunge is a go, but maybe skip the full-on ice bath.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Now, let's turn up the heat and talk about something I know you're passionate about, sauna.
Yeah.
I love it.
I love a good sauna session.
Me too.
And for good reason. Heat exposure, particularly sauna, has so many benefits for women, especially as we age.
Yeah, like what?
We're talking better insulin sensitivity, blood sugar control, a boost in those protective heat shock proteins, and even potential relief from those, like, hot flashes.
Okay, I have to ask about the hot flashes.
Yeah.
How does, like, subjecting yourself to even more heat help with something like that? It seems so counterintuitive.
It does, right. But think about it this way. When you regularly expose yourself to heat, especially that dry heat of a sauna, you're basically training your body's thermoregulatory system to be more resilient. It's like giving your internal thermostat a workout.
Okay, so it's almost like a training ground for your body to be able to handle those fluctuations in temperature. That's fascinating. Any tips for incorporating sauna into like a training routine?
So Dr. Sims, she actually shared this really cool protocol that combines sauna with resistance training.
Okay.
She recommends doing a sauna session for like up to 30 minutes after your workout.
Okay.
And the key here is to make sure you're well hydrated beforehand because you're going to experience some passive dehydration doing both, the training and the sauna session.
And that passive dehydration actually has some cool benefits, right?
It does. It triggers the release of erythropoietin, or EPO, which is a hormone that stimulates red blood cell production. And this leads to increased blood volume, which basically means better endurance, improved thermoregulation, even enhanced recovery.
Wow, so we're like boosting our athletic potential from the inside out. I love it. I'm adding this sauna protocol to my routine for sure. Okay, let's wrap up with a few of Dr. Sim's favorite supplements for women. Her top recommendation actually really surprised me.
Creatine.
Okay, I did not see that coming.
Yeah, she's a huge advocate for creatine supplementation for women of all ages. And it's not just about building muscle.
Okay.
We're talking potential benefits for mood, cognitive function, even gut health.
See, I always thought of creatine as like a supplement that guys take if they want to like bulk up.
Yeah, that's a common misconception. Women
Yeah.
can absolutely benefit from creatine, and it's not going to like suddenly turn you into a bodybuilder.
Okay, that's good to know.
Just make sure you choose a high-quality creatine monohydrate, ideally creepier, just to avoid any potential like stomach issues.
Good tip. What other supplements are on her list?
Vitamin D3 is a big one, especially for women. It plays a huge role in bone health, immune function, iron absorption.
Yeah.
Speaking of iron, Dr. Sims recommends that women who are concerned about like low iron levels consider supplementing every other day, starting on the first day of their period for 10 days. It's just a really simple strategy to help replenish those iron stores.
Okay, great advice. Any other favorites?
Protein powder.
Okay.
She's a big fan, particularly for women who, maybe they struggle to meet their protein needs through diet alone. It can be a really convenient way to just boost your intake. And then finally, she's all about the power of adaptogens.
Oh yeah, adaptogens.
Things like ashwagandha, holy basil, rhodiola to help, manage stress, improve sleep, support hormonal balance. Think of them as like your allies in navigating the demands of, modern life.
I love that. This has been such an insightful deep dive. We've like busted myths, uncovered some really fascinating research, and I feel like we've gained so many practical takeaways for optimizing our health and fitness as women.
Absolutely. And I think like the biggest takeaway for me is just that power of like tuning into your own body. As Dr. Sim said, like true empowerment comes from really understanding and honoring our unique physiology, right? It's about working with our bodies, not against them.
Yes. It's time we ditch those cookie cutter approaches and really embrace like the incredible power and potential of the female body.
I love that.
Thanks for joining us on this empowering journey.
Thank you.